Welcome, boys. It's finally here, the day we've all been waiting for. Today is the first day of the World Championship chess match. We have Ding Liren from China and Jan Nepomniachtchi from Russia. And if you are anything like me, you are so excited and you have been waiting for this match forever. Okay, guys, so without further delay, let's get into it. This game starts with Jan playing e4 and with Ding playing e5. The moves continue knight f3, knight c6, bishop b5. So this is either going to be a Roy Lopez or it's going to be a Berlin. This game ended up being a Roy Lopez, but you could play knight f6 for a Berlin. This is very, very solid. This is what Kramnik used to neutralize Kasparov's attack as white and win the World Championship. But in this game, Ding Liren plays a6. Jan backs up with his bishop. Knight f6 is played now. Castles, bishop e7, and bishop c6. So this move is the first real surprise of the match. I think there's over a 90% chance that white does not take this knight. It's considered a bit unusual because when you do it, first of all, you're giving up the bishop pair to your opponent. And second of all, there are just other moves. So what happens here is that Ding recaptures with d takes c6. Okay, so for advanced players, this is obvious. This is what everyone plays. Over 99% of people are going to take this way. But for you beginners wondering, well, wait, why don't I take this way? I was always told by my chess coach you should take towards the center. The answer is actually pretty simple. First of all, you're splitting your pawns up. And second of all, if you take this way, you actually open your queen and you open your bishop, so you save just a little bit of time, right? So you save just a little bit of time, and with that one extra turn, you're hoping to develop more rapidly. But now in the resulting position, what happens is that black has a slightly damaged pawn structure, but in exchange, he has these two bishops and essentially some better long-term prospects. Rook e1. So this again was a surprise. Most top level players will play d3. There's about 1,400 master games here, and Rook e1 only has, about 115. So Jan came today with some unusual stuff. He was definitely trying to trick Ding or get Ding out of his preparation to try something new. Okay, with that said, this defends the pawn, but white is still attacking that pawn, so black needs to defend it. So in this position, Ding plays knight d7. So knight d7 is very solid, but if you notice, it's blocking everything up, right? In the long run, he still has these two bishops, but in the short run, he's completely bottlenecked in this position. Okay, d4, going for it right away. Takes, queen takes d4. Okay, so first of all, this is unusual. Normally you would take with a knight here, but I think there's a very good reason that Jan chose to take with the queen, right? The reason is normally if there's a knight on b8, you play knight c6, you attack the queen and you win some time, but you can't actually do that in this position. In this position, because the queen, right, is in the center and there's a pawn on c6, you actually can't attack it. So I think the queen's just going to stay in the center and sort of dominate the board from its strong central location. Okay, castles, which defends the pawn, bishop f4, knight c5, unclogging his pieces, queen e3, bishop g4. So this move is considered a little bit unusual. It's definitely playable, and I definitely understand what black is trying to do. What black is trying to do is move this queen and then bring the rook out. But it's possible that this bishop can get tempoed and kicked out of the way. Okay, so let's see what happens. Knight d4, moving out of the way, queen d7. Again, I like this move. I like this move because the rook is going to come to d8, and then if the queen is attacked, it can skulk back to c8. Okay, and it's better that the rook is on d8 because imagine for a moment if the rook, if the queen stays here, okay, the rook is totally blocked. Or if the queen goes here, the rook is blocked. But if you bring the queen to d7 and then the rook to d8, the queen can go back. Okay, queen d7, knight c3. So this move actually was a very, very good move, and it sets up a lethal trap. It is one that Ding either saw or very carefully avoided. So let me show you what the trap is. So the trap here, if you look, okay, is that there's a double attack on this knight, okay, and it's only defended one time. So the trap here is for white to play h3, okay? And in this position, it looks like you can just take this knight because you have 2 attacks and I'm only defending once. But if you take this knight, you actually lose, okay? You lose to this crazy, crazy move. You play knight d5. Okay, this move looks so ridiculous. First of all, your queen is hanging, okay, but you don't do anything. This bishop is hanging, but you don't take it. You put the knight on a square where it can be captured, but at the same time, this wins for white, okay? And the reason is you have disconnected the queen and the rook, okay? And black cannot save all of his pieces at the same time. So say, for example, black takes this knight. Well, then you take the queen for free and you win. On the other hand, if he tries instead to take your queen, which seems sensible, you play knight takes bishop check. This not only captures the bishop, but it saves your knight and puts him in check. When the king moves out of the way, you play bishop takes queen. And now you've already got this bishop, you've got this queen, and you're attacking his bishop, and you're attacking his knight. And black cannot save both pieces. If he moves the bishop back, you take the knight. If he moves the knight back, you take the bishop. And actually, white will win. Okay, so in this position, however, Jan did not play h3. Jan played knight f5. Okay, and there's a saying in chess that knights on f5 are incredibly strong. Some players actually call them knives, like a knife on f5. And that's because knights on f5 hit a lot of squares. They attack the king, they threaten checks, they reach into your opponent's position. In this case, it attacks this bishop, but it also blocks this bishop. Okay, so what happens here? Knight e6. So after knight e6, okay, he comes back, Ding comes back, and he attacks white's bishop, but he also defends g7. So here, Jan takes the bishop, it's check, takes, and then bishop g3. But look at what happens. White definitely has a small advantage now, because if you remember in the beginning, what we said was black got these weak, slightly weak pawns in exchange for having the 2 bishops. But now he does not have 2 bishops anymore, but he still has the weak pawns. Okay, so that means that white is going to have a slight advantage. It's nothing major because this knight is still well placed. Okay, and these pawns aren't that big of a deal, but it will be a small, small edge that it's going to be lingering. Okay, so what happens here is bishop h5. I think Ding is just trying to bring his bishop back to this square. So f3. Okay, this is great, making a pawn chain, closing this bishop, and before we wanted to play rook d1, but we couldn't because the bishop was guarding the square. Now we block that bishop. f6, h3, h6, king h2, bishop f7. So if you look at what's happening, both sides are playing useful prep moves. So white has a dark squared bishop, and he's putting his pawns on light squares. This way the bishop can freely move around the pawns and not be blocked, and both color squares are covered. Black is doing the same thing. He has a light squared bishop, so he's putting his pawns on dark squares. Okay, this way his bishop can move around freely. Okay, rook d1, b6, putting another pawn on a dark square. a3, a5, knight e2, captures, captures, rook d8, rook d3, c5. So take a look. Now black has every single one of his pawns on dark squares. Okay, that's a great way to complement these bishops. Pardon me, to complement this bishop. And the reason is, if you think about it, if you have all these pawns on dark squares, it's kind of like you have a massive immobile dark squared bishop. Okay, this way you can still cover those squares and not have those weaknesses. Queen d2, c6. Okay, this move almost lost. Okay, in this position, it's not over yet. Okay, but the pawn was much better on c7 than it was on c6, because now after rook takes rook, knight takes rook, queen f4, this queen and this bishop are going to pop in here, and they're going to be really annoying, hitting all these pawns from the back. Okay, b5, queen b8. Okay, queen b8 is a pin. This knight can't move. So what white wants to do is just quickly play bishop c7, double attack the knight, take it, and then win. So Ding plays king h7. Now if you bring your bishop to c7, the knight is free and it can move. Bishop d6, harassing the queen. Now as you can see, White is all over black's territory. Okay, he's pressing everywhere. It's not quite winning yet because white has not taken any extra of black's pieces. The material is still even, but it's definitely much easier to be white. This is a fork. This is under attack. You cannot use these dark squares. The queen has to stay attached to the knight. If the queen goes too far, the queen will take the knight. Okay, so queen d7, knight g3, knight e6 to defend the pawn, f4, h5, c3, c4. Okay, so in this position, again, both sides are maneuvering around. White was poking at some of black's pawns. Okay, he needs to take something, though. Okay, so h4, queen d8, trying to exchange queens. Okay, white does not want to exchange queens here, because if white exchanges the queens, then it's a lot easier for black to defend. Okay, queen b7, bishop e8, defending this pawn. Another knight to f5. So again, look, it's white that's pressing here. It's white that's annoying black in his camp. It's white that's putting all the pressure. Black is just stuck playing defense. Queen d7, queen b8, queen d8. So I think he realized in this position that if he just doesn't take the queen, we're just going to go back and forth, and he wants to win. So basically, you have to either take this queen or give the draw right away. At this point, though, the position is mostly even. Okay, but not totally even yet. So knight d4, knight b7, e5, king g8, king g3, bishop d7, bishop c7 going after this pawn. So in this position, it looks weird, right? Because this pawn was completely defended and black moves out of the way, allowing white to capture the pawn. But the reason is actually pretty simple. At some point, although we played king f7, at some point you're going to bring knight d3 and we're just going to take this pawn. Okay, I don't think he's going to be able to defend that really in the long run. Also, if you notice, these bishops are on different colors. And because the bishops are in different colors, there's going to be a lot of drawing potential, especially if these knights are exchanged. And I think Ding just wants to draw. There's not really any way for him to win here. So bishop b4, knight d3, going after that weak pawn, e6 check, takes. So if you look here, takes. If you look here, takes, what he's doing is he is deflecting the bishop away from this pawn, right? The bishop was defending it, but now it's forked, so you have to capture. White can capture this pawn. Bishop d7, attacking that knight and defending this pawn. Knight goes back, and then black takes this pawn. Okay, so at this point, you have 3 symmetrical pawns on for black against 3 symmetrical pawns for white, and you have 2 and 2, knight and bishop, and opposite color bishops. I mean, it's pretty much a dead draw now, right? Almost anything you do is going to draw this game. So king f3, knight d3, g3, knight goes to the back, king e3, knight b3, and here a draw was offered and accepted, right? Basically, there's nothing that you can do. If you take here, we'll take here, king d2. Although you can catch the pawn, we're just going to play king to g6. You can't really leave because we'll go after these pawns. This is kind of bad, so you really don't want to take this because black is going to have some pressure here. He can also defend it here if he needs to. So really, you're just going to have to leave that knight there and play king e4, and then maybe black will takes, king g6, and this is really just a draw. I mean, there's nothing that you can do. There's a dark bishop against a light bishop, which means that white can always just block on a light square and you'll never be able to get past it. All right, so that's the end of game 1. It was an interesting start. Jan had some interesting and unusual ideas, but Ding was able to defend. Hopefully we'll get some increased interesting games, more fun battles. Somebody will hopefully draw first blood soon. So I will see you guys all tomorrow for round 2. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I hope you guys learned something.